Catch 'em in the pasture, run 'em in the pen, work 'em on the Sundays, do it all again. Race 'em in the sand, buck 'em in the mud, drip a cowboy's sweat, bleed a cowboy's blood.
I'm Zeke Thurston, 2016 World Champion Saddlebrock Rider, and you're watching The Pepperidge Stewart Show.
Yes, that's what you're doing. That's exactly what you're doing. You're watching it. We got a lot of stuff going on today, but I want to clarify right out of the gate, okay? Everybody wants to know. I have not been to a Diddy party, okay? Not been there. There's no videos, so we're good on that. But that is an interesting story. There's a lot of stuff happening with that, a lot of crazy things, which is weird because I've been to quite a few, the celebrity party stuff and get-together and gatherings, but I've never seen anything as crazy as what's coming out of those stories. So that's going to be entertaining to watch unfold for everyone because crazy things happen in Hollywood, and that's why I've not been there. I'm here telling you guys stuff. Random stuff, real stuff, and lots of stuff. And that's what we do is talk about stuff. We're going to do that today. We've got a couple of guests lined up here. We've got the one and only Paige Murray. She's got a children's book coming out. We're going to talk to her about that a little bit today. We've got Lee Wells. He's got the documentary coming out, We Are Here, where they go and kind of interviews the folks and kind of covers the Panhandle fires that happened up in the Panhandle that burned. Man, it burned a lot of acreage out there. So we're going to show you a trailer for that later on, and then we're going to talk to him about that. He's got some screenings coming up where you can go watch it. So we're going to talk about that. We got some trailers for you. Everybody likes the trailers. We got those. LANDMAN, Yellowstone, how the PBR got started. We'll probably do that in a minute. And what else is happening? Prep for winter for your cattle. Prep for winter for your cattle, but still 100 degrees outside. It's October, so I don't know when winter's going to happen, but I'd like for it to happen pretty soon because it's pretty hot. For our UK folks that enjoy from the UK, we got some stories for you from there. Some of that stuff happening. Kid Rock and Rodeo, if you want to get in on that, we'll talk about that in a little bit. History, Haunts, and Legends coming up. Your crazy stories that you like so much from your odd news. And then I've been doing some traveling, a lot of dang traveling last month. I got some more traveling coming up this month. Been busy. Got some of that stuff to talk about. I didn't have time to throw all the photos out there for you, but I've got a ton of photos from where we've been. But I guess, as far as PBR goes, we do have a little bit of history on how the PBR got started, and we'll kind of throw that to you and let you see.
Here marks the birthplace of a young nation's budding cattle industry, known then as Hell's Half Acre, later branded Cowtown. If you were a cowboy, this was your ticket to silver and gold. Hell's Half Acre, though later branded Cowtown. If you were a cowboy, this was your ticket to silver and gold. Though the expansion across America's vast plains was on, no matter where the cowboys would wander, Fort Worth would always be their home. The dawn of a new century brought a grand coliseum to the brick pavement of the yard, a living embodiment of the cowboy way, a testament to the rugged, endearing, and sometimes mythical cowboy spirit to be shared with all. In a time long gone but not forgotten, men would ride in on their horses, lay their wages down to prove who was the best cowboy in town. The world's first indoor rodeo show had been crowned, and the Grand Coliseum was the only place it could be found. Tibbs, Brown, Shoulders, Mayhand, and Frost, just to name a few. From here, it was only the beginning. No matter how far they would travel, they always returned to where it started.
Donnie, first of all, who are the professional bull riders? Who are they?
These cowboys it's a players union of just bull riders making a living in the most dangerous event on the American sporting scene. They got a lot of nerve.
If these walls could talk, they'd tell you another story. In the year of 1993, a new sport was christened. Men like Sharp, Murray, Marias, Gaffney, Lambert, and Hart, who on that day would lay their money down to prove who was the best from all around. From that day forward, created on the very same hallowed ground in front of you, would invite a new breed of bold, brave, fearless men who would accept the test. Shivers, McBride, Marchie, and Mooney. And only because of here, new legends are being born. Lemmy, Castle, Davis, and Diaz of today. So from around the world, Madison Square Garden to Cowboy Stadium, it doesn't matter where it may end. Never forget where it began. Because there is no there without here. This is not just a coliseum. It's the grand cathedral of professional bull riding. It's time to go back to church, America. Welcome to the PBR.
Where it starts and where it returns as they make their move to Fort Worth, Texas, which is happening or has happened. But with PBR, we got somebody that knows a little bit about bull riding, possibly, and also has a pretty extensive resume in the media world, in the TV world, in the equestrian world. And with that, we've got the one and only Paige Murray with us.
Thank you so much for having me on. That was so interesting to watch. I love history.
Yes. So tell us, you got a children's book coming out that you've wrote that's fixing to be released. But before we get into that, let's go back a little bit and kind of see where it all come from, where you came from, what your background was like. Were you a ranch girl? Were you raised on the ranch? Did you compete? How did all that happen?
So I grew up in a small town called Lancaster, South Carolina. And Ty laughs, my husband Ty, he laughs because in like 1990, the population was 9,500, and now the population is like 9,400. So the town just doesn't grow. Every time I go back home, it's the same, but it's something so special about it. But in South Carolina, there aren't ranches like there are here out west. There's so many pine trees. There's not as much open land. But my grandmother, she lived on like an old southern plantation, and she had a couple hundred acres, and she had 2 horses that were her pets. And the neighbor kept some cows on the property. He leased that from her. And that's where I was exposed to horses. I'd always loved animals. I wanted to be a veterinarian growing up, and that I fell in love with horses by going to my grandmother's. Well, my mom and dad couldn't afford to put me in riding lessons, so my grandmother paid for it, and I just fell in love with riding. And I started taking hunter under saddle, hunter jumper lessons, and I just looked forward every weekend when we go to the horse shows. That was so fun for me. And so that was kind of my experience with horses and wanting to be a veterinarian. So I decided to go to Clemson University, and I majored in animal science with a concentration in equine business. And I just thought I wanted to do something in the horse world. I wasn't sure what if I didn't go to vet school. And that's where I decided, like, when I got to college, I wanted to be a cowgirl, instead of riding English. I've always romanticized the West, the Western way of life, and the cowboy culture. Black Beauty was my favorite book growing up. I loved the movie The Horse Whisperer and 8 Seconds. Those were my favorite movies. So I'd always just dreamed about the West and living on a ranch and all the animals you can have. And so when I was in college, I was debating going to vet school. And I graduated magna cum laude, at the top of my class. And it sounds old-fashioned, but my mom was a stay-at-home mom to three of us girls, and I wanted to be a stay-at-home mom one day. And so I was like, I just can't imagine going to vet school for 6 more years, spending all that money, and then if I end up getting married and have a family, staying home with my kid, it's like you spend all that money to go to vet school for what? And so I decided, well, maybe I won't go to vet school. But I started working as a vet tech part-time just to get those hours of experience that you need to apply for vet school in case I, couldn't find another job that I enjoyed or liked. And so, I started working with NASCAR. I was hired as Miss Sprint Cup. I started modeling in college. And there was a modeling agency in Charlotte, North Carolina. And then Wrangler was one of their, Wrangler was one of the companies that the agency would hire for. So I started modeling for Wrangler, and that led to Montana Silversmiths. And then that led to the job with NASCAR. I got to travel the country, and that's where I fell in love with broadcast journalism. I loved it. And so I found out about a job opening for Ride TV. That was a new equine network that, I think it started in maybe 2014, because that's when I applied for the job and I got it. So I was like, oh my gosh, I get to move out to Texas. I get to move cross country. I was still living around the Charlotte, North Carolina area. And so I moved out to Texas, started working as a reporter for Ride TV. And while I was working for Ride TV, I was out at the NFR 2 months after I got the job. And that's where I met my husband, Ty. He was also out there working at the NFR. And we've just been inseparable ever since. And, after I met Ty, then moved to the ranch. We got married in 2017, had our daughter in 2018. And I was working as an ERA sports reporter for Fox Sports when the ERA Rodeo Association was going on. And after I had my daughter, all my passion and energy and time went into being a mom. And so a couple years ago is when I decided to start writing children's books, because I was just immersing myself in children's books every evening, reading to her. And I was like, I want to write about, our ranch animals and all the lessons learned on the ranch. So that's where this dream kind of started that I didn't even know I had until I became a mom. And now it's just such a passion of mine.
And when you got to the ranch and not growing up on the actual ranch background, but getting out there with Ty into the ranch and being around cattle and being around horses, and ranch horses a little different than your hunter jumper horses, so it was a little bit different for you, but just kind of just fell in with it and kind of learned as you go.
Yeah, I think majoring in animal science prepared me a little bit. Clemson has an awesome program, and so there were 5 concentrations you could be a part of, but you take classes in all those different, it was the beef cows, dairy cows, swine, equine, and poultry. So I had classes on all those. And of course, it's still way different when you're actually got your boots on the ground, but our labs were out at those different farms and facilities. And so I learned a good bit from that. But yeah, it was, I had a lot to learn. I'd never been to a branding. We did some freeze branding in college, but I'd never been to the traditional branding. And even it's so different riding out on the ranch every day instead of in an arena every day. Even if you're barrel racing or hunter jumper stuff, when you go out on the ranch, is so different. And you have a lot more emotions you have to deal with within your horse, because it's different things they're exposed to every time. But the biggest thing that Ty's taught me, I could ride and stay on a horse, but I didn't know really good horsemanship. I'd never been taught good horsemanship. And that's such a big passion of Ty's. And he's really helped me with my horsemanship. And it's been neat to see, because when I was given my first horse, and I tried to barrel race on him when he was 20, and we weren't successful, but it was so fun. And then, so I decided in college, I was like, I need a faster horse. And so, but my family still couldn't afford one. So I had some tax return money coming back from my modeling I'd done. And I had about $500, and I looked up off the track thoroughbreds for adoption. And they're $500 adoption fee. So found one, drove to Ohio with a friend, brought the horse home. He was 3. And I had no idea what I was doing training a horse, and he didn't know what he was doing. And we were never successful, but we entered a few rodeos and it was so fun. But when I was getting ready to graduate, like he started to get where he didn't like me. Like I couldn't catch him. And you just love your horse, but I couldn't catch him and he didn't want to be with me. And so that was like really my last experience with horses. Got the job with NASCAR, all these other jobs, traveled the country. And so I'm so thankful when I met Ty, horses were brought back into my life, and he's helped me with my relationship with horses to where it got where it wasn't fun anymore, in college when your horse doesn't want to be with you.
Yeah. All right. So you're doing it now. You're here in Texas. Your entire marriage. You've got your daughter Oakley, and then the books. So you read books to her. You thought, I'm gonna write a book. So what ideas did you have as far like this book that you wrote here? Rosie's Wild Ride. What was your ideas or what were you wanting to put into the books for the children? Lesson learning or learning about animals. What was your idea behind it?
Yeah, so I've always loved to read and I've loved to write. I just didn't know I wanted to write a children's book. And yeah, there's the book you showed. Here it is. And you put up a real picture of Oakley and Rosie. But they're kind of the ones who inspired, this first book. There's a picture of them in the book as well, too. Let's see if you can see that. Yeah, that's them. So the way this started is, one, I think a children's book needs to entertain kids. And if they get a great lesson out of it, that's like the best. I'm always looking for a book to read to Oakley that maybe has something to do with experiences she's going through or things she's trying to learn. But the first thing it needs to do is entertain. And so all these lessons, all these things were happening on the ranch that are like a big adventure and a lot for a kid. And I'm having to explain them to her. We were talking about them at night, just different things that happened. And the lessons on the ranch, hard work, responsibility, integrity, honesty, family. But then there's other lessons learned like the circle of life and death that a lot of kids aren't exposed to the way a ranch kid's exposed to. And so, and just a bunch of things like the morality of nature and how, sometimes there's no good or bad animals. They're all just trying to survive. So there's a lot of things that you have to talk to your kids about. And so I was like thinking I would love to write books about lessons on the ranch, adventures and lessons on the ranch. And the first one I started writing was about Rosie. So she is our real life Clydesdale. And Ty wanted to get a Clydesdale, one, because they're known as a gentle giant, and he wanted a safe horse for me and for Oakley. I became a little fearful after I became a mom of riding. And that's something I wasn't used to. I guess when you're young, you're naive. But I guess it's like your biology telling you got a little person depending on you. So right. you better take care of yourself. And so he wanted to get this Clydesdale for us, but Ty also still loves a challenge, and he wanted to see if he could make like a cow pony from a plow horse. And so he wanted to see how handy he could make her. Yeah. And so she had, she came from express ranches in Oklahoma. They pull wagons and in parades and things like that. And he put 30 days on her, not consecutively, but spread out over several months, documented it on Facebook, and people just fell in love with Rosie and her spirit, took her to a branding on her 30th day, and he'll tell you she'll never be as handy, as a cowboy would want like their horse to be, but any job he needs to get done on the ranch, she'll do it for him. And so I started thinking, wow, I wonder what it would be like to be Rosie, to show up on this ranch looking so different than the other horses with their big feathered hooves and her Roman nose. And so that was like the inspiration. When I first got this idea for the book, I thought, I'm going to, she's born to be a plow horse, but she don't want to pull a cart or a wagon. She dreams of being a ranch horse. And then that just kind of evolved once I got signed with Zonder Kids, a division of HarperCollins, and they said, let's make this a rodeo adventure. So I was like, all right. I was like, so a Clydesdale rodeo, and like, that's not really going to go well. So how do I make this authentic and still a fun adventure for kids? That like, she's dreaming of being rodeo stars. Like, what is she going to be good at in rodeo? And so that's where it was fun to create this story. They practice and are kind of successful because, maybe they're in a big field running barrels around hay bales, and she can get around them. But when rodeo time comes, it's a lot different. And she doesn't make it as a saddle bronc horse. And the tie down rope, and she's so big and strong, she stops, and the calf lands in Oakley's lap.
Yeah.
Barrel racing, she knocks down all the barrels because it's this tiny arena. And the grouchy old barn cat, he's really our cat Thumbs, and he is grouchy, but he always is telling her, "You're too big and too slow. You'll never be a rodeo star." And so Oakley keeps telling her, "Well, Rosie, what if you can?" And that came out of a real experience on the ranch. We were down at the round pen. Oakley was 3.5, and I said she wanted to get on Rosie by herself. She's very independent and strong-willed and fearless. And I said, "Do you think you can get on that big horse all by yourself?" And she said, "What if I can?" And when I thought about it that night, I was like, what a cool thing that how many times do us adults forget to say, "What if I can?" We're always kind of like, well, what if I fail? What if I can't do this? What if I do this wrong? But she did, it wasn't even like a question. It was like she was just full of curiosity and wonder. She wasn't full of doubt. And I was like, that is going to be a big theme in this book. And so they have to figure out their place in the rodeo. And when a runaway bull escapes, that's like their opportunity. She's the only horse big, strong, brave enough to go, rope that bull and drag him back to his pen, and her chance to be a rodeo star.
Yeah. Yeah. When I read the book today, and I was reading that,
Oh,
and I was like, all right. So me and Oakland Rosie got something in common, because I work a lot of amateur rodeos, dragging bulls. I was like, that's where we fit in. So when I got to that, I was like, okay, so that works. So she was able, she wanted to be a rodeo horse. She wanted to participate in rodeo. She just had to find her niche in the rodeo, and there you go, dragging bulls.
Yeah, she had to find, like, they had to accept that their differences were also their strengths. And sometimes you may have to change your path on the way to accomplishing your dream, but they still accomplished it by, like, just accepting and embracing their natural God-given talents and figure out their place in rodeo. And so I thought that was like a special thing for kids, because Oakley sometimes comes home from school and says, "Oh, my friend can color better than me." And I'm like, well, you might be faster than her on the playground. Everybody's good at something. You figure out what you're good at.
Right, there you go. I mean, like you say, everybody's different. Everybody has their own niche, and you find what works for you, what you're good at, what you can do, and then you excel in that avenue. And I do like that tagline you put there that you have in the book. What if I can? What if I can? Well, what if I can do it? You got to try it to see if you can do it.
Yeah, and like, so what if you can't either? That's where you learn the most too.
Right.
But I think just having that positive mindset, if you never believe that you can and you never start, you're never going to get anywhere.
Right. You've got to try, and you've got to try.
Yeah.
And a lot of times people don't realize you learn a lot more from the failures than you do the successes. Because if you're successful all the time, you don't realize the struggle.
Right. And then you sometimes don't appreciate it either when you get there, if you don't know what it feels like to fail and to struggle. And, Ty has always told me he thinks a big part of why he was so successful is his mom and dad instilled a confidence in him. And he said, from when I was little, they made me believe I was the best at everything. And he'd be out riding a little calf or something, and about to get bucked off before 8 seconds, but his mom would count faster. So he thought he made the 8 seconds. He's like, when someone's telling you you're great at something, then you start saying, I am pretty good at this. And then you can become great at it. So he said that was so big that his parents instilled that confidence in him from such a young age that he just always thought he was the great at it.
And he became the great.
Yeah.
It worked out all the way around. So, but before we get out of here and let you get back to it, you got a book tour coming up. You got some book signings coming up. And if anybody's looking, I know you got one here in Dallas and some other places. If anybody's looking for your schedule that wants to go to the book signings on this book tour, where's the best place to send them?
Yeah, so the best place where I have all this kind of laid out is on my website. It's bootsandbiscuits.com. I share recipes, ranch life, and that's where I've got all the information for Rosie's Wild Ride on there. And just click on Rosie's Wild Ride. The menu will drop down and you can see the book tour. But if you follow me on Instagram, it's Paige D. Murray, or Facebook, it's Paige Murray's Boots and Biscuits. I post all these book tours and different media I've been a part of and all that as it comes through. So that's a great place to keep up with me and find all the information to see the real life animals, to follow along with the book and all that fun stuff here on the ranch. See my funny farm.
Okay. All right, Paige. Well, I'll tell you what, I appreciate you taking time out of your busy day to visit with us and tell us about the book and let the folks know a little bit more about you and about the books and how that works. And we wish you luck on your tour.
Thank you so much. I'm excited. Yeah, I'll be in Dallas at Half Price Books on October 10th. So that'll be fun. 6 o'clock.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye. All
right. That right there, Paige Murray. Book coming out, Rosie's Wild Ride. Rosie's Wild Ride. Check it out. She was talking about the Ride TV. I think that's the first time I met her when she was doing Ride TV, and then I interviewed her and Ty at the ERA. But then the ERA disappeared and turned into the WCRA. If you don't know, now you know. What else we're going to talk about today is We Are Here. And we got a trailer for We Are Here. And we'll check this trailer out, and then shortly we will probably be visiting with the man himself, Lee Wells, who's put this documentary together about the massive Panhandle fires that recently happened in the Texas Panhandle.
This is the heartland of America, the backbone of the American beef economy. We're here.
The wildfires burning out of control in the Texas Panhandle.
Viewers may find these images disturbing.
The wildfires took everything we had.
I see the destruction and the devastation everywhere.
Thousands of livestock have been lost and hundreds of homes and other structures decimated.
I've never seen a fire like this.
Lots of cattle lost.
All of this place burned.
With well over 1 million acres turned to ash.
It got so big and the wind got so high that it scattered everybody out.
The flames were probably 15 feet tall.
Oh my gosh.
Probably the meanest fire I've ever fought. It looked like somebody throwing big old red balls, just throwing them out there. It'd land out there and light off again. You fought what you could, where you could knock it out, and whenever, if you're not paying attention, it circle around behind you and cover you up.
Surrounded by flames, authorities tonight saying there are no exits out.
We had no air support. I don't know where the air support was.
Even 4 mile trucks. We can't hold it. Get out of there. Let's pull out. We got too many spots.
You were on your own.
This hay hauler said he'd went out north of Canadian to deliver hay and went to this old man's house, and he had 450 mama cows. And he said, "Sir, how many bales of hay is it going to take to get you through?" And he said, "Son, I don't need any hay." He said, "I've got 1 cow left." Can you imagine?
A lot of cattle died in the fire.
It came so hard, so fast, most of them weren't able to get away from it.
Most of them die of smoke inhalation. They'll run and run and run from it until they can't, and they just die of smoke inhalation. You can follow the fire line and see they'll all start giving up at the same time, and they'll just start scattering. They'll be in a line where they're starting to give up, or they'll get to a corner and it'll all catch them in the corner.
I've never seen so many dead cattle, dead animals.
5,000, 10,000, it's really hard to say right now, but it's going to be pretty dramatic.
A lot of the cattle were already bloated and burnt and dead. But then I had cattle that didn't have hair, didn't have the ears, lips, eyelids, all burnt off. And they were still walking, and they'd come into the feed truck. And that's the hard part of ranching, having to get out with your rifle and shoot your own cattle. I had nightmares for weeks.
I have a really good friend of mine that called me one day and said, "I'm done. I don't want to do it anymore." But it has to be done. And so it was the first round of it for my boys, and it didn't take them long to get sick of it. People here have a lot of grit and a lot of fight in them, but you can see it in their eyes, behind their smile. They're tired of looking at it, they're tired of talking about it, and they're tired of thinking about it.
A lot of the ranchers are getting up there in age.
I'm 93 last December.
At that age, would you start over?
I've never thought about quitting or giving up. Cows need fed or they need looked after. I always have a reason to get up the next morning. I think everybody needs something to get up for the next day.
As of today, all the fires are out, but that means work begins. It's going to take months to years to get back on our feet.
This was my living, and it's shattered.
These are our friends and neighbors. If we don't help, who will?
You feel bad for people driving 6 hours with a load of hay, because they've got family they need to be with.
That is hard. It's really hard.
I had a guy from Decatur, Texas, come in. He got here around 9:30 that morning, and we unloaded, and he said, I'll see you this evening. And I said, you what now? He said, I'm driving back to Decatur, Texas and getting another load, and I'll be back this evening. And I thought, how amazing somebody would do that.
If we don't, who will? Because they're not coming for us. We got to take care of ourselves.
When it came to my place, I'd help my neighbors till I had to leave. And it was me and one guy at my house. Todd Keith, if it wasn't for him, I'd have lost everything I had.
We got to stick together. This is what ranchers do. This is what farmers do. This is what Texas does.
Neighbors helping neighbors, it's just unbelievable. But that only goes so far. When it's gone, we have to sell everything we have. And if we don't have cattle out here, we can't feed the world. This world lives on what we raise.
There is lots of good people out there. I found that out. I was really kind of down on humanity. I thought, this world's going downhill. But after this, there's more good that came out of this than the bad.
We just can't give in. We can't let up.
I've had losses, but my heart's broke more for my neighbors than it is me.
I think I'm gonna need new tires on the truck before I can come back. But if that's what it takes, that's what it takes.
This fire has been one of the worst things that I've ever experienced in nature. And the kindness of people is some of the best I've ever seen in humankind.
My neighbor came to me and said, I'm here to help you. And I said, get out of here. This fire's bad. He said, I got it. He crawled on the front of my truck. He said, you didn't leave me. I'm not leaving you. We're here.
So that right there is the trailer for We Are Here. It's a documentary that Lee Wells has put together. They're doing some screenings in different locations right now. For that, they've got a screening coming up. I think their next screening, depending on if you're watching live or replay, Greenville, Texas, they've got a screening coming up for that. Nothing. So be sure to check that out. Look it up at the website there. We'll talk to him here shortly about that, and you can. He will tell you where to go to find all the screening locations. And with that, the Kid Rock and Rodeo. Kid Rock and Rodeo is happening again, and right now the draft is open. So if you enter the draft for the Kid Rock and Rodeo, if you're ready for the encore, it's happening. If you think you have what it takes to compete for one of the biggest rodeo purses in the nation, not a purse like you carry to town, like a money. Registration is now open for the 2025 Kid Rock and Rodeo, featuring Kid Rock and the world's top rodeo athletes. Year 2 kicks off the biggest weekend in Western sports on Friday, May the 16th in Arlington, Texas. Last year, the groundbreaking inaugural event, Rodeo Reimagined, took place there in front of 23,000 fans at AT&T Stadium, which is home of the Dallas Cowboys. It's coached by legendary rodeo stars and comprised of 2 athletes per discipline, which is 4 in team roping. 6 face off head-to-head in a bracket-style competition to be crowned. Now, coached by legendary rodeo stars is in quotes. You had Clint as one of the coaches last year, so that's a different deal. Using a unique format similar to drag racing, which that's really changed over the years. Athletes compete at the exact same time in all 5 events, adding for a never-before-seen twist. If you didn't watch this last year, you need to go watch it. It was pretty entertaining. Register before November the 8th for your chance to be drafted. So if you want to try to get drafted for that event, you have from now until November 8th to put your name in the hat to see if these coaches want to draft you. So that's how that goes. If you want to get your scare on, or learn more about the paranormal, if you're into that and you want to learn about paranormal stuff, you can go to Jefferson, Texas, and the first weekend, or the first Saturday, I believe, of November. You have the History, Haunts, and Legends that is going to take place, where they have speakers. It's like a paranormal, not a paranormal conference, but kind of like a paranormal deal, where they have some special guests from the paranormal world. You've got Till Gray, Nikki Folsom, Kathleen Micah, Greg Lawson, Jesse Ward, Brian Clune, Susan Hill, Dakota Lawrence, Dr. Rita Louise. Wow, the picture they're using here is not recent. Larry Flaxman, Brad and Barry Kling, Mitch Whittington, Tanya Womack, and Martha Decker. And they have a special guest, Natalie Jones, which we may be visiting with before this event on the show. So anyway, it's a pretty neat deal. You go out there and they talk about paranormal stuff. You learn about different paranormal activities and things and how that stuff works. And then depending on the ticket that you buy, you can go out that evening. There's a few very old historic homes in the neighborhood of Jefferson, and you will get to go out and spend some time with some paranormal investigators in those homes. So that right there is a pretty neat opportunity. If you're into that sort of thing, go check it out. If you're not into that sort of thing, go check it out anyway, because you just might learn something. I don't know what's happening over there. What is happening over there? I see lots of motion. But
so we got them in, but we just don't have video.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Oh, okay. Let's just go ahead. Yeah, okay. So that works. All right. And with that, the trailer for the documentary you just seen is going to be this man here, Mr. Lee Wells. Are you there with us, Lee?
I am. I'm here.
There you are. All right. So tell us a little bit about this documentary that you're doing, kind of how it got started, and then kind of where it took off from there.
Absolutely. Well, March 1st, we getting the news of all the wildfires, the crazy destruction, and we began to channel supplies from northeast Texas out west, and hay and feed and all of that. And in one of my trips, I grabbed a camera crew, and we began getting some of this on tape, as it were, and then sat down with several ranchers and got their story on video. And they just opened up, began talking, and I guess from one rancher to another, they felt comfortable, and we got some pretty amazing footage, great stories.
All right, and the amount of people outside the Panhandle that helped out, volunteered, donated was pretty remarkable.
Oh wow, it was. I don't know that we'll ever know numbers. It was just overwhelming. We were just a small part of all of that happened, but happy to be a small part and and happy to get it down as a historical record and be able to share this story with others that are outside of that area, and then of course folks that may not even know that it even happened.
What was the? I think you may have mentioned it in that trailer, but what was the amount of acreage that burnt?
Well, my number that I'm standing by that I can verify is 1.2 million. Locals are saying 1.5 million, but when you start going on record, you have to be sure. So that's a lot. That's just, I think I did the study on that. I think it's like 8 New York cities stacked together side by side is about what has been destroyed out there. It's amazing. It's just amazing.
And then even on that stuff, that happened, and on the rebuild, that a lot of people don't realize too. On that is the getting back to it. That a lot of folks, they lost their cattle, lost their homes, but then you also nobody really thinks about the fencing, but you lost all your fencing too. Your wooden posts and all that stuff's all burnt, so you're pretty much starting over from scratch.
I talked to one guy. He's a rancher that right there in that area. 40 miles of fence just on his place. Talked to another guy, 80 miles of fence, perimeter fence on his place. It's just mind blowing the number of miles of fence, and then their well heads are burned out. All of their grass, their hay, their barns, just depending on how the fire was blowing, how it was fought in the different areas. They lost various amounts, but everybody in that area lost all of their grass for the spring and had to move cattle onto other lease spots or had to find hay to keep them in a lot or something. They had to do something because they could not continue the way they were before that fire hit.
How has the rebuild process been going?
I was just out there last week. We took this film out and showed it across the fire zone, 4 different theaters. And so I got to drive all of it just last week. And, their grass is coming back. Of course, it takes a long time to rebuild that much fence. But, I did see more cattle on their places. There were more cattle in the country. It does look like they're gonna make it, but it looks like they're getting back to normal a little bit at a time.
Man, that's that devastation, and like a lot of those people, like the ones in the documentaries, that those ranchers, that's their sole income. That's their life. They live and die by the cow, and when it's gone, it's what do I do?
Yes, sir. There were so many cattle that like we mentioned in that trailer. Their bags were burned, their udders were burned. They were having to bottle feed calves, by the hundreds. It was calving season. I don't know that we'll ever know the full toll because so many of those cows were about to calve. And so you could almost start multiplying those numbers by 2, almost, because of the number of mama cows that we're talking about. The number of bulls, of course, are a smaller number, but the majority of those cattle that were lost were, about to calve. And so those that did survive, that didn't have to be put down in the subsequent weeks, a lot of them would throw their calves, and it was just so much loss. It's hard to total it all up. And every man there had to figure up his own losses. But I don't think that we'll ever know the totals. I just don't know that we'd ever have a way of knowing that. It's so big.
So with this tour of the documentary, I know you're coming to. I think pretty soon you'll be in Greenville, Texas, and
yes,
then you're going on from there. So what does the tour look like as far as the locations and the distance that you're traveling?
We're coming down to the end for now. We started out last month in Pampa. We gave a first look opportunity to everyone that was involved in it. Had them, their families. About 400 neighbors. We had about 400 there at that showing. And then, of course, this last week, we did 4 different stops across that area in the Panhandle. And then we're bringing it back to my area on the 18th of October in Greenville at the Municipal Auditorium. And that's going to be the last time we're going to be able to see this, because it is going into and been submitted to film festivals. And so the way this process works is I wanted to be a little different. Most films they're not seen at all until after the film festival circuit is complete, because those film festivals want fresh, new, never seen films. And I actually forfeited some of those opportunities, and we were not even able to go into some of those film festivals because we've shown this. But it was very important to me to get to the people and let them see this while it's relevant right now, not waiting until next year. And so, long story short, we got one opportunity coming up here in the Greenville area, Dallas, North Dallas area, drivable from Dallas, of course, to come see it. And we've got plenty of seats, 1,400 seats in that auditorium. We're bringing in laser projection. We're bringing in a 24-foot screen out of Dallas. We're doing it right. And that's going to be the opportunity for us to see it in this area. And then it'll go on the shelf, and then maybe it'll do some good at some of the festivals. We'll just have to wait and see.
Okay. All right, Lee. Well, man, I appreciate you taking time to visit with us and tell us a little bit about that, so we can show the folks and let them kind of know what's going on and where they can look it up. And is there the website that folks want to go check this out? The best place for them to go look it up?
Yes, sir. Well, thank you for letting me be on here. I appreciate your platform, and I appreciate your listeners. From a rancher to everyone listening, thank you for doing what you do and being interested in this. Our website is We're Here, so WEREHERE doc.com. So We're Here doc.com is the website. And if someone was interested in seeing this on the 18th, you can buy tickets right there on that website. There's also other clips, the trailer's there. There's some other footage that's there, and reaction videos, and just some information to learn about there on that website.
Okay. All right, Lee, man, I appreciate it. And we'll get out to the folks, and hopefully had a good show in there in Greenville.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right, so check that out and look it up. And with that, I'm going to leave you with a trailer for LANDMAN that was filmed here in the North Texas area, a lot of it, some of it a little out west, and another Taylor Sheridan production with the Sling Blade himself. So check it out, see what you think, and we'll see you next time.
Oil and gas industry makes $3 billion a day in pure profit. And it's only getting bigger. But before any of that money is made, you gotta secure the land, then manage the people. That's my job. First part's pretty simple. It's the second part that can get you killed.
Convinced itself that you are evil and I am evil for providing them the one thing they interact with every day.
Getting oil out of the ground is the most dangerous job in the world. We don't do it because we like it. We do it because we run out of options.
Everybody's whole family works the patch.
Roll the dice one last time.
sticking with beer? You want something stronger? I quit drinking. I'll stick with beer. Welcome to the oil business.